Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome to the Pyramid Science Foundation's live stream. I'm Lisa Richards, and we have the lovely Charlie Zeese with us today, as always.
Well, thank you, Lisa, but start telling the truth.
Charmin Charlie is what they call him, I hear.
Charming, maybe. Lovely, no.
But we're going to start off. We have an amazing guest today, but we're going to start off with a couple announcements. Why don't you go first, Charlie?
Okay, I'll just tell you a little bit about some of the upcoming events. And I taped another session yesterday with Sasha Stone on the Lazarus Initiative with a guest speaker who's going to be on with us next week, George Leoniak. But George and I and Greg Volk, who's a friend from the conference I went to, the Tesla Tech conference in New Mexico. But we talked about the fact that the this common diagram called Metatron's cube, which we've been taught for years, is actually you can derive all of the Platonic solids out of. Actually, you can't, and that's what George's session was about. So that's interesting in and of itself. But George is going to be our guest next Wednesday, and we were originally going to present this information with Sasha, but the topic got changed. But George has taken the research that I've recently done on the Gothic cathedral steeples, and he's incorporated the geometry of multidimensional geometry into that. So we're going to be talking about the drawings that he's done and the linkage between the powers of phi that I found in the Gothic cathedral steeples and the hyperdimensional objects such as the tesseract, pentarock, and so forth. So that's going to be for sacred geometry people. That'll be a real pleasure. And then finally, on December 7th, I'm going to be on with John B. Wells on Caravan to Midnight, and I'll be discussing, the pyramid research and whatever else comes up that John wants to talk about. So that's it for me. Back to you, Lisa.
All your late night events.
I have to take a nap before I do all those.
Yeah, if you didn't catch Charlie on Sasha Stone yesterday, it was, I believe.
Well, we taped yesterday, but it'll air tomorrow.
Oh,
Will
okay.
air
Yeah,
on the
so
on. Yeah, I'm sorry if I didn't say that. Yes, the airing is actually tomorrow, November 30th. We're the last segment. This time that is a subscription service, so you have to be a member to see it. But if you are, I'll be on segment 5, which is the last one.
but if you
For
miss it, if you're not subscribed to Sasha, then come. When is it? George is on with us on the
he's
6th.
on, he's on next Wednesday, so that is, I believe, December 6th. And he'll be our live stream guest next Wednesday.
And they'll be covering a lot of the topics that they were.
A lot of the topics and more that we discussed yesterday that will air tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay. And then, so I have some exciting news that I got invited to India for their huge meditation event by Peri Patri. She's the daughter of Patriji, who passed away last year. And I'll be actually leading a meditation. I'm going to do one of my Love Blast meditations. And I was, Perry and I have been friends for a few years. I did some work for her a few years ago, and we just recently reconnected again after a few years. And she offered this invitation to me, and she said, there's going to be a lot of people there. And I said, yeah, that's what I figured. I was thinking like 1,000, 2,000 people, a lot. So, but then it popped in my head yesterday. I better just text her and see how many people is a lot. 50,000 people every day. 50,000 people. I instantly got nervous, and I was like, I hope I don't have to do my meditation in front of that many people, And she goes, no, it'll just be probably 100 or 200, for the English speaking portion of it. But what an honor, to go. And while I'm over there, she's gonna set aside a few days to give me a tour of the different meditation pyramids over there. And so this is through the Pyramid Spiritual Societies movement that her father actually created in 1990. And since then, have built over 50 giant meditation pyramids. And most people don't know about this stuff. but they're enormous. Like the one that they're having the event in, it's 10,000 people. That's how many it holds. And then they have 5,000 plus rooftop type, housetop, pyramids, school tops, like hospitals and pyramids, animal husbandry, plants and stuff in pyramids. So it's going to be exciting to go and see all of this. And, the work that Patrigi, his life's work, and he passed away last year. And so we're going to touch on some of that stuff as well, but we're going to have some different interviews coming up and topics about that. So that's exciting. But let's get into it because we have some more exciting, I love meeting all these different pyramid pioneers is what I call us, because we're all delving into this just the past few years and we're finding out so much information and we're reconnecting on so many different levels. And I actually found today's guest on Facebook. So Facebook does have some benefits. They don't censor everything, but we're connecting in more ways than one. So let's bring her on real quick. We have VEE Montes with us today. Hi, VEE.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Hello.
Hello.
So let me read a little bit about what we're going to talk about today. So today we're going to dive into the captivating world of vibrational medicine with VEE Montes, the visionary founder of Pyrimed. As a dedicated practitioner and researcher, VEE's journey revolves around exploring electromagnetism, frequency, and cellular stimulation, intricately interwoven with the captivating power of pyramid energy. VEE's inventive spirit knows no bounds. She is an adept inventor, crafting unique alchemical tools that include her pyramid rendition of Wilhelm Reich's Orgone accumulator and an assortment of alchemical energy devices. Over the past decade, VEE immersed herself in various modalities, leading to the development of her own pioneering mythologies. These encompass dielectric frequency harnessing and microcurrent orgone stimulation. VEE skillfully stimulates internal magnetic fields, aiming to trigger cellular regeneration. Her practice also integrates bioresonance therapy, plant medicine, and Ayurvedic influenced foods rich in angstroms. As the founder of Pyrimed, VEE shares her expertise with the world through workshops, pyramid energy retreats, and immersive energy experiences. Join her on a transformative journey to explore the fascinating realms of pyramid energy and vibratory stimulation. This is exciting. Thank you, VEE. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you both as well. Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Lisa, for having me on today.
Sure. Our pleasure.
Why don't you start? You have such a great journey. Can you touch on a little bit about how you got into this and how you evolved to pyramid energy?
Absolutely. Well, it all started, I would say, about a decade ago. I have an extensive background in various different medical areas. And so through working orthopedics and 911, emergency medicine, and then coming over to the holistic wellness portion of the medical field, I started to become very intrigued with the different energies inside of the body. Orthopedics is actually one of the reasons why I became more fascinated with the internal or integral portions of our body. So I founded Pyrimed back at the end of 2022, so a little bit of last year, at the end of last year. And the purpose of creating Pyrimed was to bridge the gap between various modalities and integrating them with pyramidal and electromagnetic energies. And the fascination really did stem from my interest in the human body, as I said. So with that heavy background in the medical and the orthopedic world, it became clear to me that the human body has the abilities to heal itself without the use of modern day services. And so I became very interested in what that meant and what that represented. And these parts of the bodies really stuck out to me, the bones and the organs. Now, in orthopedic therapies, we would use a device called a bone stimulator, which would help expedite healing of bone breaks and fractures through stimulations, so through electromagnetic stimulations to the bone. So this left me really curious as to how this could be possible. How could we accelerate healing inside the body with electricity? And this is where I started to discover piezoelectricity, as well as the extensive research that pyramid energy and electromagnetic energy all together combined really stimulated an even more accelerated healing inside of the bones and the organs of the body. So that's kind of what brought me into the interest of electromagnetism, was the bones and the cellular structure and the electrical components, and starting to look at the body like it was a mechanical mechanism versus just an organic material. And so it took me several years of researching and venturing deep into electromagnetism to thoroughly understand what on earth was actually happening inside of us. I began studying the works of Nikola Tesla, Wilhelm Reich, Michael Faraday, Joseph Henry, as well as James Clerk Maxwell, just to list a few of the men who rediscovered the use of electromagnetism. But as we know, like all other civilizations, it does have an ancient
Yeah.
history to it. And so electromagnetism and vibratory utilization was used in ancient Chinese practices, Mayan practices, as well as Egyptian culture as well. And so my biggest question that I was left with after all of this research and my knowledge of medicine was, how on earth do we integrate? How do we integrate the electromagnetism into our modern day world? How do we get back those ancient technologies and those ancient practices and integrate them into this electromagnetic field that we currently live in all the time? And so, with the electromagnetic inundation that we have surrounding us, from Bluetooth to Wi Fi and connections through your appliances, cell towers, Tesla cars, you name it, if there's an electrical component to it, there's a potential that that electromagnetic field is present. But then my question started to grow even further past electronics, and I started to question our food. I started to question our clothing and what we would lay our eyes upon. And so all my research really made me create the Pyramid company in order to create that bridge between ancient technology or ancient practices inside of our modern day world. And so knowing that these items, such as your Bluetooth and your Wi-Fi and all of those things, emit these electromagnetic disturbances inside of our bodies, I wanted to figure out, how can I reharmonize myself first, then friends and family, and then the outer world as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how I came into being into this world. As far as the pyramids go, early on my electromagnetic journey, I discovered that the pyramids themselves had a special relationship with the earth and its gravitational fields, as well as creating its own electromagnetic fields as well. And so, because I knew that the pyramid shape itself would create this kind of communication with our electromagnetic fields, I started to integrate that into the modalities that I utilize in conjunction with the pyramid energies as well. So that's the background for that.
Very cool.
Yeah, you have an extensive background, so it's nice that you get the best of both worlds, you know?
Yes.
You have the medical background as well, and you can see how the things around us are affecting us. And that's, I tell people all the time, we're swimming in a soup of electrical magnetic frequencies, and they're building up more and more every day. We're drowning in them at this point, you know, and they're not going to go away anytime soon. So we have to learn how to live with them. So we have to learn how to transform them and how to build our energy back up. And I started myself with Tesla energy. I would go to the Tesla electric festivals in Canada every year. And, you know, he was one of the number one things that just taught me so much about electrical magnetic frequencies, you know. And I remember coming upon a story of a guy who got struck by lightning and his teeth started regrowing after that. So, you know, just simple things like that you find, you know, electricity is powerful. And I think it was David Wilcock talked about it on Gaia, on his wisdom teachings, Charlie, that, you know, the only way, or I guess the only reason we don't regrow our limbs is because we're lacking a little bit of electricity to do that, you know?
Well, that's right. That's
So,
right. The Body Electric is a classic book on that topic. So, yeah, absolutely.
I
cool.
absolutely agree as well. Yes, yes.
Well, why don't you cover some of the topics that you wanted to talk about today, V?
Well, okay, no problem. So, just to touch on exactly what you were just saying, as far as the integration of the electricity to help regenerate parts of our bodies, that's kind of the main focus of what I do, is generating electricity through natural methods in order to stimulate that kind of outcome. Now, teeth growing, that's amazing. Absolutely. And I can imagine that was a profound experience for that person. And you're absolutely right. We are inundated by all these electromagnetic fields. And I would love to be walking around in a mobile Faraday cage at all times to protect myself from the soup, that we are living in. But unfortunately, we carry it in our pockets, we carry it in our purses, our backpacks. And, for those of you who are electromagnetically conscious of removing these interferences from your life, then congratulations to you, because you've discovered that hidden world of that electromagnetism that's quite intrusive for our own magnetism inside of our bodies. Now, the people who are conscious, unfortunately, our friends and our neighbors and everything that we're around still promotes this electromagnetic field into our bodies. And so we're still, even though we try our hardest to get away from this pollution, it still exists within us. And so that's where, once again, asking that question, how do we still protect ourselves with all of this inundation from the electromagnetic fields? And so that's why I started to create my own techniques and modalities, which some are very simple and others are quite intricate. So in order to have had a successful outcome, I have had extensive research studies. I've done a lot of projects, combining various different things from plant medicine, Ayurvedic practices with the electromagnetics to see the outcomes of different types of modalities that we would try it with. And in order to be successful with that, I had to become an inventor, an alchemist, as well as a well-seasoned energy practitioner in order to be able to really get a thorough understanding of what it was I was really working with. And even till this day, with a decade of work, I'm still learning every day, and I feel like this is an endless journey of looking for the answers, right? But every day we come across the new answers.
Sure.
So taking into account the energy and the electric that our body harnesses, and tapping into those integral electromagnetic fields through piezoelectricity, and rewiring our circuitry, I utilize the natural currents of the earth. And so for the first speaking topic, I want to speak about how we utilize atmospheric energy in conjunction with natural organic materials. So if you can please bring up the first image.
Sure, sure.
All right, so this is actually the second image. Yes, perfect. There we go. Now, when I say natural organic materials, I mean that. Okay. You can leave that one. It's fine. Okay. No problem. It's fine. Okay, so utilizing pyramids is one of the cornerstones of my practice. So pretty early on, I was utilizing the sacred geometry in the platonic solids. That was my interest, and there is a correspondence with the shapes of these platonic solids with the magnetic fields of the earth. And so I started working a lot with copper pyramids and various different ones. I've made selenite pyramids, metal, graphite, all kinds of different ones. And the ones that I started to really become attracted to were organic pyramids. Now, I had to handcraft each one of these and cut them down. So everything that I make is completely made by me and by hand. Now, the pyramid that's being presented to you right now is created by all organic materials. It is created by with gemstones. It has copper as well as limestone. It's sitting on a gigantic hematite stone as well. And so what I did is combining the pyramid energy with a metal, which was the hematite stone. I actually started to track the last hurricane that came through here in Florida. That's where I'm located. So from the beginning of the hurricane coming in all the way through hitting category 3, so from category 1 to category 3, I started to track the energies. Now, when the energy started coming in, it was on a lower scale. I'd say it was under about 50 millivolts or so. And so as the energy started to ramp up and pick up and combining the materials, I was able to get the energies a lot higher into the 836 range, which was quite phenomenal because what was happening is through organic materials, you can actually maintain that energy. What I noticed with the copper pyramids is that a lot of the energy tends to bounce around a lot. And so you don't have it kind of harnessing itself, whether just it discharges the energy. So through organic utilization of different things that are created by the earth, I was able to maintain more of the energy and lessen the discharge. And so through these organic pyramids, I'm able to use them in a lot of the meditations that I use, the treatments that I provide to different clients of mine. And I'm able to harness a lot of that atmospheric and ground energy into these organic pyramids. And similar to the idea of electroculture, where we are pulling the energy from the atmosphere as well as from the root system and integrating it into the plants, we do the same with humans. We do the same thing with animals. So we're able to combine the atmospheric energy with these different materials and provide different strengths of electricity into the bodies. And so this is kind of one of the projects that I have been working on, trying to see how much energy one can harness with the pyramidal energy, but as well as what does it look like when it's integrated into the human body. And so that was part of this project, which was the Orgone battery. And I call it an Orgone battery because it is made out of multiple materials. It is made out of organic and non-organic materials, conductive and non-conductive dielectric encasement materials. So it's similar to what you would say an Orgone pyramid that you see online or in different shops and stuff, except this is just completely natural. There is no resin, there's no plastic, there's none of that. I utilize the stones as the encasement. And so that I found to be a lot more powerful. And similar to, our ancient buildings and things that are made from limestone and granite and all of those really amazing conductive materials. And so that's where my focus and my vision has gone, is trying to work with more natural materials, getting away from electromagnetism, getting away from these devices that just plug into the wall and they bring in this electricity, and utilizing a more natural approach to energy, healing, energy, stimulation, cellular regeneration, because through microcurrents, we're able to stimulate cellular function. And so that was the next thing in my research was, are we actually stimulating cellular responses from these natural currents that are coming in from the earth? And that's where the next topic that we'll jump into was birthed from. That, yes. Yes, so it's actually voltage that is being measured. So this is natural voltage that is being created through the combination of the organic materials. Now they are laid in a specific pattern in order to create the response, but those are natural currents that are coming out.
meter to make that calculation? Do
Uh,
you put one end of it on the pyramid and ground the other one, or how does that work?
Correct. That is correct. Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, I think people would love to. So to me, I mean, that is another It's measuring voltage, but you're measuring the the, the differential between. I guess it would be ionization at the ground and ionization in the pyramid or at the side of the pyramid. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. Yes. That is exactly what we're doing. So we're measuring that atmospheric current that's coming in. Now, by combining that with larger pyramids, like I have an 11-foot tall copper pyramid that I utilize. And so when I utilize it with larger copper or metallic pieces, I'm able to harness and bring in more of the energy through that. And so that creates a really interesting stimulation, because when I use these organic materials outside of the pyramidal shape, the outcome is very different. So when I start to lay them in the different platonic solids, we start to get a different kind of response from the meters. And this is not the only meter that I use, but this is the one that happens to be utilized for this particular moment. And yes, so the pyramid itself also, because of its shape and its representation of being the fire in the middle, it actually warms up as well, which is very, very interesting to see because of the material that it's made out of. And indoors in an air-conditioned room, it will also warm up as well. And so it literally holds that tetrahedron representation of fire. It really does bring that forward. Yes, we can jump over to the next one. So this was going to be the original. So this was the original photo, and then I did the pyramid tracking, the hurricane tracking. So this was, you can move on to the next image. So this brings me to my next modality that I offer over at my at Pyramid. So I became very fascinated with tensor technology and how it creates its own antenna and its harmonizing magnetic energy that the tensor itself brings. And I was very curious, once again, what happens if we integrate these tensors with pyramidal energy, and what happens if we plug in some electromagnetism into them outside of them being what they are on their own. And so I came up with the tensor ring healing concept, where I utilize the natural currents once again, but it is transferred over through the tensors into you, your person. So I have a video just kind of explaining a little bit about what the tensor rings are for those who aren't familiar, and for those who are, then you'll know. But I'm going to go ahead and play this video for you, and then we can jump back into that. Yes. All right. Just put my volume up, make sure you can hear it. The tensor ring is a natural technology crafted from copper. It possesses unique energy manipulating properties. It is said that the tensor ring harmonizes energy fields, improves well-being, and amplifies intention. Combined with pyramid energy and orgone energy, we can stimulate the cell and rejuvenate. All tensor rings are handcrafted by VEE. When connected to the pyramid energy system, the tensor ring restarted it. Okay, so that's just a brief. It's a longer video, but I didn't want to get you guys completely with the video. So essentially, what I'm doing here is I'm utilizing the natural energies from our earth, so trees and different things that have a deep root system, and tapping into that energy system pull up these microcurrents that we are discussing here. And so through the utilization and combination of the tensor therapy with pyramidal energy, it amplifies that microcurrent stimulation that's being integrated into our cellular system. And so by tracking through bioresonance therapies and bioresonance scans, I was able to do some tracking to see what kind of differences were occurring while a person was having the therapy provided to them. And so we would do before and after of the therapies to see what was the outcome of the stimulation in the body. And we focus on specific body areas that somebody would have damages in, or if somebody had a fracture or a tear, particular areas of difficulty. And so what we were able to see was that there was a humongous positive response to having the microcurrents transferred over into the body, which is very similar to utilizing like pulse electromagnetic field therapies, except we're doing it with a natural aspect to it instead of having it plugged into the electrical device.
Yeah, I've never seen anybody hook up a tensor ring to the ground and to the trees and to your pyramid as well. So that's what you were doing, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I used to make tensor rings myself. I sold that business years ago, but yeah, I never thought of doing that, and that's a wonderful idea.
Yeah.
How
Now,
much
once again,
comparable, how much does that change the resonance of the person when it's connected to something and when it's not?
so when you test a person to see what their voltage is, and then you plug them onto one of the devices, you can see a humongous difference in the voltage that a person is carrying versus when they're touching or being touched by these particular devices. Now,
Is there a drastic difference? I'm assuming
yes,
there is
yes,
compared to the tensor ring by itself.
yes,
Compare that to.
absolutely. Mhm.
Oh, wow.
Yes, but once again, utilizing the pyramids that I make. So this is working with the organic pyramid that I showed you first, right?
Yeah, and
So
the bigger the pyramid, the more powerful it will be
the more
as well.
powerful, but also taking into account that you lose energy through the open face pyramids. So that's what I call the copper pyramids, those open ones. So
Yeah.
because you lose the energy through that, and I've actually tested it to see what happens by integrating these organic pyramids to stabilize that energy. You're able to now integrate these energies in a stable way into a person. Because the other thing you have to take into account is this is voltage. So you don't want to just plug into any ground anywhere and just go, because you can electrocute yourself. You have to
Yeah.
be very conscious of these things as well. And so that's why I take safety protocols, creating these additional pieces to add in to make sure that there's a safe approach to this, and to ensure that it's being controlled versus just sporadically just sending all kinds of different energies into a person.
Very cool. That's really interesting. Do you have
What
any? Go ahead, Charlie.
do you have any videos or instruction? I mean, do you have any video demonstrations of how you actually make those measurements?
Not today. No, so I do have a video on my YouTube channel, as well as my website that you can go to, my virtual lab, and it does track the actual hurricane
Hmm.
tracking, so you can see me testing the hurricanes that
Oh,
way.
sure, that
Just
would be cool.
similar, yeah. So it's
Okay.
just similar to what I would do for a human or an animal,
Right, right.
or even food or water. I work with all kinds of different aspects of
Okay,
the world.
okay.
So yes, but as far as testing people, yes, I do have videos, but those are confidential videos that I don't have permission to show other
Oh,
people.
sure. No, I'd love to see the protocols. And let me just say it out loud. I mean, Lisa and I have been given access. We want to start to do some free energy demonstrations with pyramids, and we have access to a large pyramid in Ecuador that's built with the geometry of the pyramids that I make.
Mhm.
And I'm just looking for the knowledge, which I don't have,
Right.
to determine that electrical potential and figure out how to design the experiment. So you might be somebody who could help us with that.
Yes, like I said, it does. It's a specific kind of calculation and like a chemistry set, pretty much. So I
Yeah.
need certain components in order to make it happen. I
Gotcha.
wish I could just plug it right in and go, but it's a little bit more involved than that.
Yeah.
But you can definitely test the potential of many devices, not just the pyramids. You know, I
Oh,
make
sure.
copper wands and different types
Mhm.
of energy tools,
Yeah.
and those also I can plug into my systems and utilize those too, not
Oh,
just the
fantastic. Yeah. Great.
Very cool.
yeah.
Well, let's go back to the slides. Do you want to go to the next one, or did you want to talk more about the tensor?
So for the tensor therapies, I do offer this privately, and I offer it in a group setting. So if you can slide over to group,
Okay.
sure. Here.
Okay.
So this image here is from a retreat that we hosted with plant medicine. And this was not in Florida. This is in I also host around the world too, so where it was legal. But so what we do is we'll plug in multiple people into this experience. And what I noticed also is by utilizing a cohesive group, we're able to actually amplify even more of this energy, right? Because we are a collective consciousness, we're collectively all electrical beings. And so by having multiple people, which usually drains energy, but through these methods, we're able to amplify more energy. And so adding the aspect of vibratory stimulation through sound or color, or just vibratory stimulation like vibroacoustics, there's a lot of different potentials that can be met with utilizing these multiple different natural energies. And so this is a picture here of about 10 or 15 people who were all plugged in to the pyramid. And in the middle of the pyramid as well, I have another antenna that I created. So that antenna also helps to bring in more of that energy too. And so that antenna is made from organic, non-organic, once again, materials to harness a little bit more of that energy.
So everyone in this group has a tensor ring on their head that's all connected, and they're all connected to the pyramid in the
They're all
center as
connected.
well?
Yeah, they're connected. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Very cool.
Yes. Move on to the next slide.
Now, do you find it more beneficial for people to be grounded while utilizing these technologies as well?
Oh, absolutely. So I tried to remove any type of electromagnetic disturbance. Another one of my focuses is that I utilize areas that are high in electromagnetic potential as well. So removing any kind of like cellular phones and Apple Watches and all those things out of the picture, and having another thing is, which is very important, is your clothing too. And so making sure that we have these components all in alignment will help ground them and bring a higher potential for them to have a better experience and outcome.
Okay.
Now here, this image that you have is actually one of my private sessions that I offer. And so I work a lot with biophoton therapy as well, integrating light therapies into the body, as well as utilizing pyramid energy and the various different alchemic tools that I create. So in this image, you're seeing an actual therapy session that's taking place. And this particular person is having a copper therapy that's going on with the pyramid energy and some integration of color therapy as well. So this is one of the things that we offer over at Pyrimed, which is a multimodality approach to vibratory stimulation and to try to bring these electromagnetic fields inside of our bodies back to a resonance. And so this is one of the sessions that I have.
What is the center pole?
That's one of the created antennas that I have.
Okay. And he's holding one as well?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the geometry of that pyramid, is that a Giza geometry?
It's a Giza geometry, but I don't necessarily follow the 51-degree angles for everything. I've noticed that by tapping into different types of degrees and different angles, you can get different responses from the pyramids. So I
Okay.
know that it's something that's sought after, is having them like specifically to these measurements. But I noticed that when I first started making pyramids way back when, they were quite lopsided, to be honest. And it took me some time to actually learn how to cut and make them all
Yeah.
properly. But those lopsided pyramids actually brought forth a lot of energy as well. And
Mhm.
so it actually changed my perspective. For a long time, I was pursuing the copper and these metallic pyramids, and I thought that those would be very high in power. But I noticed that by utilizing a more organic approach,
Yeah.
that it was a better return.
Right.
So you, for your organic, mostly the organic is the capstone that you're using, right? And you still use the metal pole, the copper poles for
So
most of
for the
yours?
for the larger pyramid, yes, but utilizing the smaller pyramids that I have, like the crystal battery pyramid, that's where I'm able to stimulate and harness. So that helps me integrate and utilize those larger pyramids. If it was just the standalone pyramids, it'd be a different type of response, which I've tried and I've tested as well.
That's what we've come to the conclusion of too, that the smaller pyramids with the sides are comparable to a large meditation pyramid with no sides because of the sides. You know? So,
Yes.
yeah, okay, that's interesting.
Yes.
Okay, let's go back. I love your setup here. It looks so tranquil.
Thank you. Yes. So this is actually in Florida, in Tampa, Florida, this location here.
And you have events down there all the time in Florida, or like, when's your next one coming up?
So we're hosting a women's retreat in February. So I do both. I do co-ed and women's retreats. And so we will be hosting one, I believe it's the weekend of February 28th, which will be taking place on an island called Coya Costa. And
Ooh.
so we'll be utilizing a lot of that island and electromagnetic energies that are over off the island, and the water and the sand. And that makes for quite the combination of an electromagnetic um, response. So,
Yeah, so I do, I'll go back here real quick. I do a process called bionization, and it was discovered by Wilhelm Reich during his orgone research as well, where you can actually infuse something with extra life force energy by freezing and boiling it several times. And the highest vibration sand, what I use to bionize is a high quartz content sand.
mhm,
And the highest quartz content sand I believe in the world is in Sarasota, Florida.
that's correct.
And I've had a customer send me a bunch of it. And I use it as my personal stash. I'm like, I'm not giving that to anybody else. But yeah, it is a lot more powerful than the regular quartz crystal sand that I use.
Yes, I actually host meditations on the beach in Sarasota
Oh,
as well.
wow.
Oh,
Okay.
fantastic. Yeah.
So you get that I believe it's 99% quartz appellation. Such a soft, powdery quartz. No other.
It is. It's very, very white and very soft, like you said. Yeah, it's hard to filter out any little thing, because it's just so fine. But oh,
It's so beautiful. And
amazing.
they actually call that area Sarasota like a spirit town. That's kind of where people have taken up shop to do a lot of their spiritual and psychic practices and stuff. And so it's a hot spot center for a lot of electromagnetic response in that area, which I'm about an hour away from there. So I have the luxury of kind of driving over there and doing
Yeah.
that. I actually have a pool of sand that I hang out in. That I hang out in with my pyramids sometimes.
You
Um,
snag some every time you go there, I bet.
I snag them from all over. So I have like sand from Bermuda, I have sand from Arizona, I have sand from a lot of these like ley line spots that are high with a lot of that energy.
Oh, very cool.
Yes.
I love it. Okay, let's go back. Did you want me to go to the next slide?
Yes, you can move on. Topic. Well, actually, let's go to the one with the computer.
Okay.
We'll talk about this one last. Here we are. Okay, so kind of going back into the plant medicine retreats that I was speaking upon. And so one of the next parts of the studies that I am doing is my interest in how the body itself digests and is able to replenish the electrical energies inside of it, through various whole foods. I study Ayurvedic nutrition. I'm in school to become an Ayurvedic practitioner as of next year. So I found it very fascinating to know that we could replenish our bodies with these electrical currents in multiple different ways. So we don't necessarily have to do it just through these devices. We can do it with our foods, and we can do it through the plant medicines as well, and different experiences like that. And so I teamed up with a group that does plant medicine journeys and experiences through ceremony. And it is very indigenous teachings and an indigenous approach to the plant medicine life. So I found it to be very remarkable, and so I teamed up with them out of curiosity of what the participants would experience through utilizing the plant medicine as well as the integration of these various different techniques, these pyramids and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And so over a course of a few different retreats, we did a study on the participants, and we would scan the participants prior to their experience, and we would do bioresonance scans on them and EEG testing as well. And then we would do middle, sort of while they were in their experience and after as well. And so the outcome was quite remarkable when it came to seeing how this approach of the integration of electromagnetism and plant medicine were able to really stimulate even more than what I was explaining before. And so I became very interested in the idea of foods, and foods high in angstroms. And angstroms, if you're not familiar, are the energy forces that food hold and are able to replenish inside of our bodies. And so when I noticed the difference between somebody who just would do the therapies versus somebody who would do the plant medicine, it was interesting to see a large jump in their position from where they were when they started to 2 days later after their full experience. And so here what we have is an image of one of the bioresonance treatments I have going on with one of the participants that were part of the plant journey. And so I have it here pictured. I have permission to use this image here. And so what I would do is scan them inside of the pyramids and outside of the pyramids as well, to see if there was a difference between being in the pyramid and being scanned and being outside of the pyramid and being scanned. And I found that it was a lot more advantageous for them to be inside of the pyramids when we were doing these scans for them as well. And so through the plant medicine and through the pyramids, we were able to see that it's quite an interesting journey for the participants as well, because they report back that they feel, once again, that fiery energy that comes from the pyramids, but as well as a sense of like interconnectedness and peace when they are experiencing these moments.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yes, it's really, really nice to see, because it initially was a theory. And so now to see it actually play out in real time, it's quite remarkable. And it makes me very happy to see it all kind of come together.
That is exciting. So you're talking about plant medicine. Are you talking about like ayahuasca and like that?
Psilocybin is one of the ones that we use. And also we did a study with regular, to combining various different mushrooms like lion's mane and cordyceps and turkey tail, and a lot of the mushrooms that may go into, let's say, like a cacao offering, right? So to see the difference between what the psilocybin medicine would do with the other mushrooms. And it was actually very close. It was very close. And I was surprised myself to see how close they were. So it's something that's very helpful for the body to take in these mushrooms and to really allow them to become part of you. So,
Now, were these mushrooms charged inside the pyramid beforehand for any particular time? Okay.
So we had controls and we had regulars. So we had a group of participants that took without the pyramid infusing energy, and a group that took it with. And so honestly, with that, I would say that it was half and half. Why I say that is because I believe that the people who practice a lot of the frequency therapies and are a little bit more comfortable with the integration of these frequencies tend to respond a little better than those who were just there for the weekend and don't normally have that a part of their practices. So that was another telltale sign that doing these practices on a regular basis is definitely a lot more helpful, and you will see a larger response from those who are practicing the frequency therapies versus those ones.
It would be interesting to see the results of some psilocybin charged inside the pyramid and some psilocybin that was not charged inside the pyramid. I mainly just say that because I know through the Russian research, they noticed that it either increases being, inside the pyramid, it'll increase the benefits, but it also decreases any type of toxicity or negative effect
Right.
as well, so I don't know. It's interesting. That's really cool.
Well, I practice electroculture as well. So that's another one of my things that I do. And so I can actually attest to that fact that I utilize pyramidal electroculture. So I create my own pyramid electroculture antennas and things of that nature. And I have controls and non-controls. And I can tell you that the ones that have the pyramid electroculture involvement are thriving and well, and the ones that don't are already dead for the winter. It's actually very surprising because the plants that I would think that need to hibernate for the winter are actually still sprouting new leaves and new everything. And it is very remarkable. It is really beautiful. One of my poles that I use are actually about 10 feet into the ground. So I pull up a lot of that energy to work with. And so that's what I'm constantly doing. I'm plugged in all the time to some kind of device somewhere around. But yes, so as far as fungus goes and let's say bacteria, the plants that I have that are stimulated with the electroculture do not have any signs of disease, any signs of any of that, where the ones that didn't have it did have that. And the ones that didn't have the electroculture also were constantly being attacked by insects and by different creatures in the middle of the night, and they would be right next to each other.
Sure.
Yeah, that's why I'm actually delving into electroculture as well. And I'm working on, wooden pyramids and I want to test the different geometries. I want to see how comparable it is to the Giza, the Russian, and the Nubian, all in the same geometry, well, different geometries, but made the same way, with the antenna on the peak and the tower, and the grid probably underneath the ground as well. There's so much out there. This stuff is so exciting. And even with the animal experiments, there was a man in the 70s, I believe in Arizona, and I can't remember his name, but he did an experiment with the Giza pyramids, and he made his rabbit hutches out of the Giza pyramids. And the ones who lived inside the pyramids grew 40% larger. That's a huge difference.
Yeah.
And rabbits are one of the most skittish animals too. They're the most terrified. I can only imagine that they were very calm living in that pyramid as well. I mean, that's just what, I don't know.
Animals are very attracted to the pyramids. I have animals. I have cats and dogs. And the love that they have for these pyramids is so interesting. Like I'll have them outside. I'll have like 3 meditation pyramids out of different materials. I plug them in, I test them to see, who's harnessing, what's not, all those things. But then I noticed that the cats like constantly love to lay underneath them. And so I was curious as to like how much they would take as far as being in there. So I started playing sound bowls with the cats to see, and they would get even more in tune to the energy. And so I can imagine how those rabbits felt like they were.
Well, gosh, cats are like our natural energy transformers. They're probably like, finally, somebody to transform my energy, because they need help.
Yes.
Something to help them, The other animals, they just need that transformation, and the cats are constantly there to help with them as well, so.
So they can see things we can't, so they see on that more ultraviolet, all those types of spectrums that we can't see. It's actually helpful, to be honest, because when the cats approve, I know I did something right.
Sure.
They are judgmental that way.
Sorry, Charlie.
No, V, I know that you have set up, I believe, a nonprofit. Am I correct?
That is correct. Yes.
Yeah, tell us how you integrate your nonprofit into your research and so forth.
So the nonprofit is called Viva in Solace, and the nonprofit was actually started before Pyramid was created. So it started prior to the pandemic,
Okay.
and the basis of what Viva in Solace is to create a sustainable lifestyle for homesteaders and to integrate different sustainable buildings, sustainable electricity, sustainable
Hmm.
free electricity, different things like that. And so initially started off as a project to see like what we could do, what's possible. But it's something that grew. And so we've been around the country helping people, learn about the homesteading, learning about how to integrate your own food forests and how to create your own gardens. And if you want to use pyramid energy in your gardening, then this is how you do it. And so it became that, and then the structures started to be created. And so structures of organic materials, creating like mud homes and sandbag homes and things like
Oh,
that.
okay.
And
Hmm.
so that's kind of one of my passion projects is to create non-traditional
Sure, sure.
non-traditional locations where you can experience sacred geometries while you're sleeping and where you live, and integrating those sacred geometrical shapes into your land and
Sure,
aligning them with the proper alignments of the true and magnetic norths and all that stuff. And so
good.
that's the nonprofit aspect of
Okay.
Viva.
That's exciting. We'll have to stay. We have so much more to talk about than just today because my big project is what I'm working on is trying to develop the soil back to the way it's supposed to be, where it holds all the nutrients and all the plants that are grown in it,
Mhm.
provide all the nutrients for us. Because right now, even if you eat organic, you don't get all the nutrients that you need to survive, to function properly. Humans need what, 90 essential nutrients, I think, or something like that. But I want to create a closed loop system with red worm composting, and
Mhm.
I've done experiments with them on magnetism and how they're affected with magnets, and it just floored me, the difference in 30 days. I mean, the reproduction of the worms, and so the quality of the worm castings has to improve. And then with my rabbits, I want to utilize them for the soil development as well, make my own biochar out of that, and
Mhm.
a lot of different things using the electroculture, the magnetism of the spring water, the pyramid energy to charge it, ormus. I make ormus as well. So there's a
Nice.
lot of cool things that I want to implement into it. I'm sure people think I'm crazy by talking about all that stuff, but that's what I've been into for several years. I'm sure you know all about that. So
I don't think you're crazy. If anything, I think you're onto it.
well,
You're
thank you.
spot on. I truly believe that well, number one, you're absolutely right. The organic food and the things that we have, there's obviously, it's not completely 100% what it's supposed to be. And we've seen it time and time again. People have debunked the organic industry continuously. And the truth is that the best way to get yourself an organic food is to grow it yourself.
Yeah.
Right? And so by utilizing the electroculture to stimulate the ground to clean and to absorb those funguses, the bad funguses or the bacteria, it really does help purify the dirt. And so utilizing the natural spring water, charged waters, as well as the pyramid energy really does create a beautiful relationship with gardening. And that's another one of my passion projects as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, do you have space where you live to do your own gardening and to grow your own food to some degree?
To some degree, yes. Yes, I
Yeah,
do. Yeah.
yeah. I happen to live very near the Amish, and I'm very, very fortunate. We go to their farmers markets every week, and I trust their food far more than I trust any organically labeled food that I get in a commercial grocery store. So it's
Absolutely.
just wonderful. Yeah.
Well, I think the Amish had it right in a lot of ways. We can all see that at this point.
Yeah.
Well, they really did. Now, V, do you make your pyramids and tensor rings for public sale, or do you just use those in the context of your practice?
Today it's for my practice, but my intention is to launch my own line of the products that I make for the
Yeah.
public. And so I'm hoping to have that done, if not by December, at least by the new year, so that
Oh,
that
well,
would be
fantastic. Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Very
It's,
nice. You'll have to inform us when it goes live. I'm sure our viewers will love to see all that, and I'm sure they'll be sending some sales your way. You have some other things coming up too, though, right? Other launches from your website as well, like electroculture as well.
yes, yes. So there's a few things on. If you go to my site today, it's still under construction. So I apologize if you click on something and it's not there yet. There's a lot of content, a lot of background data that I'm trying to get on there from previous projects and for future projects. And so what I'm doing is I'm creating my own virtual classroom on the things that I do. And so I want to teach other people to do what I do. And so I think the best way to do it is to document my journey. And so I have a lot of that stuff, but it's being compiled right now into something that can be viewed by the public.
Yeah.
And so once it's live, I will be having a newsletter that's going to be going out that will also inform everybody when we'll be having these new things. So you can actually go to my website and sign up for the newsletter. And so when all of these things come out, you can be the first to know when we're having the retreats, or if we're doing a study and you want to be a part of a study, because I do that as well. And I do take people on from the public who are interested in experiencing one of these experiments that we do. And so, yeah, so through the newsletter, you'll be able to get some more insight. But the whole thing should be built out by January. It'll be on there. Yeah.
Well, you're better at it than we are if you can get it done in that fast a time.
I try.
I know. I try not to give out dates anymore because I'm like months.
Yeah. That's where I am. I'm like, oh, September now. It's November now. It's not happening. Yeah, it's hard. Technology, it just continues getting further and further, and I'm still at the beginning side, still trying to learn how to get it all done.
Yeah.
It's so generous of you, though, to share that information with people. You know, that's what Charlie has on the YouTube channel, how to make your own meditation pyramid. You know, he gives his diagram and his dimensions, and, you know, so it's just, we need to help each other right now. We need to come back into unity, you know, develop our community together, and I guess reconnect with nature, reconnect with these ancient technologies, because like you said, they've been around for years. For thousands of years, and they've been intentionally hidden from us for a reason.
Oh,
you know? So, you know, I think years ago it was insane to listen to people like us. You know, I'm sure I would have considered that insane as well. But now, to me, it's insane living the standard American way, going the standard American medical system, you know, eating the standard American diet. I mean, everything, all of that just seems so insane. And insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And we are the sickest that we've ever been, you know? Why would you continue down that path? Why not check out different avenues, you know?
Not to get political, but I laughed. Was it 2 weeks ago? I think Nikki Haley came out and said that she wanted to tie Social Security and Medicare benefits to your life expectancy. Well, I think she thought that meant that was code for let's make the Medicare and Social Security ages older. But the reality is that in the last 10 years, we have lost 3 years off of our life expectancy in this country. And if we don't do something radical very, very quickly, it's going to continue to decline. So we've got to wake up and realize that what we've been doing, as you say, Lisa, if we continue that, is insanity, because reliance on processed foods, crummy water, electromagnetic fields, and the like are what's causing all of these problems in our life expectancy. So you're on the right track for sure.
This is a bit off topic, but it was so funny to me because when I was looking up the traditions of India, because I'm going to go there the end of December, for some reason it popped into my mind, I wonder what their toilets are like. Oh. Well, it's like a hole in the ground that you have to squat over.
Yeah.
Well, then I looked up handicap toilet in India, and they are our bathrooms. So that should show you, just right there, other countries consider us handicapped just by the basis of our bathrooms.
Yeah, that's right.
They have it right.
And there are very good reasons to do it the way they do it in India, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So makes sense.
Did you want to... Did you want to cover your other slides, Fee?
Well, I just wanted to touch on what you were just saying before we jump over to the next slide.
Sure.
But I totally agree with both of you. We are up against a war, which is the food industry, which is the electromagnetic disturbances. I mean, we have smart meters. We have what a lot of people don't know, and I don't know if you're familiar with, but like the Bluetooth and the Wi-Fi all kind of are on a similar level, right? When they're connecting from device to device. So when you're sleeping, you are laying in that field at night while you're doing your cellular regeneration. You're
Right.
literally, and so a lot of people don't realize this. And so they think like, oh, well, I'm blocking out this electromagnetic field, or I'm using, this crystal to block my computer. But it's like you're bathing in it while you're sleeping and when you're most vulnerable, And so between that, the water, and all the other things, it really is just something that we're really up against. And so I do believe in charging the water and like checking and making sure that our food is charged, that we are doing and utilizing these electromagnetic fields for good versus these negatives that are impacting us on a daily basis. And so, so I really wanted to just touch on that. And then as far as the bathrooms go, they actually have it right. We have it wrong. We're not supposed to be sitting the way that we do when we do, use the bathroom, because we're supposed to be allowing it to flow. And instead, we're forcing it. And so our bodies aren't naturally releasing the way that they should. And so other countries, for us, it seems foreign and something like, wow, I get to use the bathroom over a hole. But in reality, it's very interesting. And I see like the Asian culture will come to our country and they'll actually stand on the bowl itself and sit in that squatted position too. And I've heard about that.
Well, they sell squatty potties now that you put under your, so your feet are up, and so you're in that squatting position. So
right.
It's like you have all these amenities, but now you have all these accessories you need to buy in order to go back to the traditional way you're supposed to do it. It doesn't make any sense. But so I wanted to touch on Starlink internet. So Starlink, I have a Starlink dish in my yard, and during the summertime, the grass around it was growing like crazy. And some people were saying that the Starlink dishes were putting out more bad EMFs than a regular internet service. But then I saw another post from a man on Telegram who had the same experience as I did, where the dandelions, because his was on the ground as well as mine, and the dandelions growing around his were like 6 inches taller than the other ones in his yard. So that would be something to something cool to study, would be that.
Oh, absolutely.
Is it beneficial? Is it a real Tesla technology? It's coming from the Tesla guy, right?
Right.
So it could be.
I believe it. I mean, there's only one way to find out, right? And so
to test it.
Statistics. Yes.
Speaking of testing, V, do you use anything other techniques other than voltage to try to quantify the effects of your various products?
I do use other meters, but I've seen that the ones that the voltage testing has the best output when you're testing the devices themselves versus humans. If we're doing humans, it's a different diagnostic approach. But when you're testing the actual devices, I find that what I'm looking for, honestly, is current. So that's why I approach it with these different devices that can measure current and electricity because of the electrical components of the body.
I mean, we've used other devices, and I'm fascinated and really want to follow up with you on learning how to use voltage and I've got a fluke meter, so it's not, I just have never learned how to do it. So, I'm looking to put that into our arsenal. And Lisa has got, on behalf of our foundation, she has the technology from Russia for galvanic, excuse me.
Yeah, that's right. GDV.
GDV, yeah, that's right.
Like Curly in photography.
Oh, yes.
The bio-well.
Yeah.
Oh, you use the bio-well?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's what we're training on right now, is the bio-well.
Ah, okay. Yes, I've seen it. I was curious about its technology. So very interested in what your feedback would be on that.
Yeah, well,
Mainly
One
mainly
feedback is it takes a lot of time and money to learn it.
yes, yes.
No,
And so
no on-site training.
there
Well,
was basic training came with it, but that's the thing. I kept seeing people selling their devices, and it's because they didn't realize they had to spend thousands more in the training, which is kind of sad. You think you would want people to be able to operate your equipment properly and, and give it a good name out there, but um, it seems like it's great, a great device. But it's mainly just basics is what I've learned so far. And now I'm delving into learning how to operate the accessories like the Sputnik.
Hmm.
You can put that in a room or inside the pyramid and test the energy field of it.
Oh,
So
that's
before we just had the ability to test people, but
right.
now we can use the hand sensor and test people during meditation,
Hmm.
or the water sensor and test that before and after or during.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's very interesting. I'd be more interested in that technology as well. I
yeah.
find that because I love like bioresonance energy. For me, it has been such a game changer since I came
They
into utilizing that.
Well, BioWell has a huge event in Florida coming up.
Oh,
It's in
really?
December, I believe. I'll find it and share it with you.
Oh, please do. I would
Yeah.
love to check that out. Yeah, absolutely. Anything that can give back any kind of feedback on our bodies and the output of energies that we're putting in out there
that's right. That's right.
is so important, right? And
Sure.
so if they figured that part out, let's then that's wonderful.
Well,
Yeah.
it'll be a great conference to attend. I'm not sure how much it is to go, but I know just to be a speaker, they wanted $6,000
Oh,
for, yeah, so it's quite costly, but their speakers are very reputable,
yeah.
so.
So yes, absolutely. Oh, that'd be cool.
Do you have, or could you give us any sort of testimonial experiences that some of your clients have had with your technologies so people can get an understanding of, the types of effects and results that they get from your work?
Absolutely. So like I said, I work with various different people across all spectrums, and especially when I'm doing my research projects, I pick through people intentionally to get different responses, and so I have had a lot of feedback on the pain spectrum where these therapies have helped, reduce pain, have helped bring back vitality to areas of the body that normally they wouldn't have. So let's say like back pain, or they couldn't bend down because they broke their back or something of that nature, where they were
Mhm.
able to regain a bit more of their mobility and things like that. I've had people tell me that they've journeyed and traveled, in their minds or
Mhm.
astrologically, or not astrologically, like astroplane type of things and
Mhm.
things like that. And
Okay.
so it seems to tap into various different parts of the body.
Yeah.
But once again, just going back to the fact of where somebody's frequency like sensitivity to frequency is. So if there's somebody who is new, they still report that they are experiencing sense of calm, they feel less pain in certain areas, where
Mhm.
other people will say that they've had full on experiences like taking a plant medicine. So it's very similar to that
Yeah.
at times.
Have you studied the ability to manifest at all? I know it's qualitative, but
Mhm.
we find, and I do. I mean, that's how I'm getting downloads on sacred geometry is through using my pyramid and combined with intention.
Oh,
So
absolutely. Yes.
yeah.
I set intentions all the time with the pyramids. And by tuning that vibration and becoming resonant with that frequency of what I'm trying to manifest, it most definitely is amplified through the pyramids because those pyramids are antennas, right? And so, since our skeletal system is comprised of the piezoelectric energy, and we are already vibrating that outward, and then we're manifesting inside the pyramids. From my own personal experience, I have noticed that when I do my intentions under a pyramid, they definitely pick up a lot faster
Oh
than
yeah.
if I'm
Yeah.
just in a regular meditative space.
Sure. Sure.
And that's actually true for a few of the platonic solids. So we've recreated a few of them just to kind of see what the differences would be with the response in people and stuff. And so I noticed that when you integrate them they really do have a hidden communication with the orgone energy, the scalar energies that are around us. And you are able to really, once you understand it, and maybe I'm interested in actually seeing your next guest and see how they explain it,
Yeah.
because I'm very interested. But when you really understand the sacred geometry and this earth and how everything kind of really does have a cohabitating relationship, and you learn how to use them together, you can really access,
Yeah.
different things there.
So have you built, when you say you've used platonic solids, have you actually built replicas of the platonic solids? And then were you inside those when you were doing
Yes,
this?
yes.
Wow.
And that's for
Very
another project, but yes.
well. No, that's great. I mean, what? Yeah, George, who's going to be on with us next week. I mean, I had developed the geometry of these pyramids, and he was able to. He's a great geometer, so he was able to map out that the scaling of the platonic solids, and that's been a theory of manifestation or cosmology for a long time, that it does occur within this very precise geometry. So that gives me an idea of some things that I may want to try myself. So that's a
Yeah.
I would love to but first, find out more about that maybe off camera, because I think that's a fascinating discussion.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is, and you're absolutely right. So, although I was talking about lopsided pyramids, and with the pyramids, I do find that whether they are to the Cheops degree or Nubian pyramids, when it came to the other solids that we were working with, we made them to a specific scale, intentionally, and we were able to see a response from that as well. And so, yes, you're spot on there, Charlie. You are.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
that's a fascinating idea. And of course, I mean, George has. I mean, we've talked about the fact that the Earth, all of the major pyramid sites and so forth, they're all located on those points, on the Earth. So there's a class. I mean, that's just a classic demonstration that this is so relevant and important that we need to tie it all together.
Yeah.
So very
That's
cool.
why I like to put the locations in which I practice or do retreats are generally on those access points
Hmm. Hmm.
specifically. Yeah.
Have you done any testing with cones?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
No. Okay.
Now, did you want to follow up with any of the other pictures, V?
Oh yes, we can go into the. So you can go to the pyramid, black pyramid. This
Okay.
one, my favorite one. So this here is one of my newest projects that I have worked on. I told you, Lisa, how I was actually building this while I discovered you guys, and I was watching some of your lives while I was making this. And so what this is an actual mobile orgone accumulation pyramid. And so I built it intentionally to be able to move it around, and out of specific materials that will harness a lot of that orgone energy. And this pyramid, I have walls on it. It's collapsible, and it is very strong in energy. So whenever I put a person inside of it, depending on their frequency capabilities to withstand high intense frequency, I may only put one orgone wall onto this pyramid, and it's enough for a person. I remember when I first created it, being in there with just one of them was so strong. So with four surrounding you, it is quite a powerful experience. And so this is one of the newest projects because, as I was explaining to you before, in my belief of the energy discharging from the pyramids, I now am harnessing them more by creating
The
these,
walls.
these walls. Yes,
How big is this?
this is it's 6 foot.
Okay. And is there a floor or is that just open and connected to the ground?
Well, it has its own covering for the bottom, but
Okay.
it's
What is that cover made out of?
a blend of a lot of materials that I put together.
It's her
Okay.
secret.
The secret. Yeah.
Oh, it's the secret
Secret
sauce.
sauce.
Okay.
Yeah, I hand sewed and everything this
Wow. Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
so it's a
Very
lot of
cool.
research, a lot of trial and error,
Yeah.
and I finally came to having this one. And so now, for people who go into this definitely allows you to journey further past, the left brain, and allows you to tap in more into the right brain and allow you to kind of go into a deeper meditative state. And then if I add any kind of exterior vibratory stimulation to it, then that also enhances the user's experience when they're inside of this. And so this also has been tracked with bioresonance scans and different diagnostic testing to see the outcome of what's actually happening inside of there. And so I'm very excited because this one I actually intend to create into a large scale meditation opportunity.
Okay.
So people will be able to do orgone meditations as a
Well, are
group.
you going to sell these like eventually or
Maybe. I definitely haven't gotten around to that part yet.
yeah.
But the opportunity may present itself. Right now, like I said, it's a project. And so, although I am utilizing it for clients and sessions and things like that, it's still, for me, in a more of a project phase because I just recently created this. So this is a few months old.
Oh, that's awesome. We're definitely going to have to come and check out your shop and your events and everything. I mean, yeah, we could spend weeks down there.
I know. One day I'll create a pyramid playground for everybody to come and hang out.
Now, what would you recommend if somebody wants to try? They have their own meditation pyramid, like Charlie Stargate, and yeah, I know there's people on like Etsy that make orgone blankets.
Mhm.
Would that be something like I'm sure it won't be exactly what you're doing here, but would that be something like that you would recommend putting the orgone blanket around the meditation pyramid to enhance more energy?
So it really, I mean, you could essentially, what I did, so I followed this is not the first one I made. The first one I made, I actually followed a lot of the techniques that were online. And so when I did, it was very weak. So when I added my stuff to it, it enhanced it a lot. um, so it depends on who's making it, how they're making it, what materials they're really using, and so that's where, if you have a reputable person, then sure, you could definitely try it. But once again, I told you I add other materials into this to really make it amplify. So
Yeah, and I really feel that intention has a lot to do with the power of things that are developed as well. So
absolutely, because you're working with these organic materials. Even if you bought it at the store or wherever, it's still it's a material that's from the earth, most of them, which are supposed to be going into these orgone blankets, essentially, right? So when your intention is maybe a money making intention, it may be a little different than when you're creating your passion, right? Like when you make your capstones and know that when you're making them, you're like, oh my, this is so beautiful. This is, and so you put love and care, and not to say that they don't, but I do notice that when I touch certain orgone pyramids, some feel very empty, where others, and it could be this small and it could feel like it's a boulder, so it really does depend on who's making it, what's in it, and the intentions behind all of that.
Gotcha. Wow. Well, those are all fantastic ideas, and I really applaud you for you know using your creativity to come up with what are really new approaches to a lot of these techniques, like the tensor rings, and attaching them to trees and nature and grounding and so forth. These are wonderful ideas. So I
and this
applaud
is
you
what
for all of that work.
Thank you.
yeah, and this is what we need to do. This is the only way we're going to discover what the real truth is. We can already see we've been lied to about so many things. So what can you really trust anymore? And even like you said, the information that you tried, that you found online was very weak compared to the stuff that you tried. And, just simple things like meditating
Yeah.
improve your power so much. You get so much divine information that you don't know where, I mean, you would not get that idea by looking through a book. So, and nothing that I've done or none of the information I've ever received has been negative, or, I know that all these people are like, oh, meditation is bad or blah, blah, blah. No, try it. It's
Right.
better than not trying it. Just give it a try and see. So,
Right.
um, yeah, it's just amazing. Yeah, congratulations, Charlie. Really, that's exactly what I was going to say.
No, you're absolutely right. You have to try, right? And so when you try and you're tuned in, right, you get these downloads that will tell you, hey, why don't you try this a little differently? Why don't you approach it from this perspective instead of this one? And so because I have a scientific background, and for me, although I believe in a lot of metaphysical and things like that, I'm a facts-based person, and I like to show proof to people, especially when they challenge me. I'm like, oh wait, hold on, I have proof. And so that's kind of one of the things I carry the most, is to be able to show people, like, this is what you're experiencing, not just telling them you will experience this thing, but look at this. This is happening for you.
And that is
And
the key.
yeah,
That is the key, because most of the people need that proof. They need to see that. And it is the key to bring back the community and the unity in our world.
That's right.
You
that's
know?
exactly it. Yeah, there's a lot of non-believers out there, and not that I'm here trying to convince anybody, because I truly feel that whoever is in alignment with what I do will take what they can from it and utilize it for what they need to. And those who don't believe in it, that's okay as well.
Mine too. That's right.
But like, the internet does give a lot of false information. So a lot of my research actually comes from interesting places, like the thrift shop is one of them. So I tend to go searching for old books and things like that that are
Yep.
not in circulation anymore, and even like old, very old articles that you can find like hidden. That's where a lot of my research comes from. A lot of the stuff that's online is just there for you to throw you off the trail.
Well, that's right. That's
that's what it's
exactly
there
right.
for. And although some of it has functionality and it will work, I feel that a lot of it is definitely censored, as you know.
Oh, sure. Oh, sure. Sure. Well, we were, in fact, when we were taping with Sasha yesterday, that the idea of New Age versus metaphysical came up, and to me, there's a slightly different conception there. The New Age to me is more devoid of science than maybe metaphysical. To me, because of the research I've done, I can tie metaphysics to geometry, mathematics, and harmonics. And so I don't think it's as much of a pseudoscience to talk about metaphysics and to say that this works better because the math and the geometry dictate it. But yeah, I mean, so many people are out there talking about things that without any validation from science or mathematics, and that's where I part company with that crowd.
Yeah,
So
you have to be careful.
yeah, yeah.
Do you use Scribed at all?
I'm sorry?
Do you use the website Scribed
No.
at all? They have a lot of old books that people upload on there. So that might be a site that you want to check it out. Yeah. Jason Q, I know he uses it a lot and gets his information. So
Yep.
that's how I heard about it. It's like I think $12 a month subscription or something, but people are uploading all types of old books on there.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
right.
absolutely. And Charlie, you're absolutely right. The new age movement is including the old age, right? It's the past that we've been working on, and things from ancient civilizations into this new world. And metaphysics is a branch of like alchemy as well, right? And so you have a lot of alchemy involved, and a lot of numbers, and a lot of different materials and vibrations, which all fall into that pseudoscience realm, right? But we know that anything that's deemed pseudoscience definitely has a science behind it.
Well,
And so,
that's right. It's just been hidden from us, and
yes,
that's what we're doing. We're rediscovering all of that. So
that's what I go after.
yeah, exactly, exactly. So that's been my quest for the last 7 years, is finding the golden ratio and all of this architecture and nature and so forth that's not been seen before in 3 dimensions. We don't think in 3D very well, and that's plenty of people have found the golden ratio in 1 or 2 dimensions, but very few have spent time finding it in that third dimension. And now we're going into higher dimensions. That's where the new research is coming from. My research on the cathedral. So,
Right.
it's fascinating work. So, can't wait to see it. But anyway, do you have any parting comments to the group? I guess our time is about up here. So, just why don't you review again where people can find you and your information, and any other parting comments that you'd like before we close.
Well, you can find me at pyramid.org, which is here on my name here, and sign up for the newsletter. That way you can be the first to know about all of the new things that will be coming out in 2024. We'll be having a lot of retreats around the world, a lot in Florida and some in Sarasota. So I hope to see you there, guys. And so, yeah, so if you are interested in the techniques that I do, I'm also going to start hosting workshops as well. So you can actually learn hands-on with me and learn how to do some of these techniques on your own. And kind of doing an introduction to people who are interested in integrating pyramid energy into their lives, into their daily lives, as well as into their agriculture, their nutrition, and various other aspects of their lives.
Awesome. And V's information, her website links and everything, her nonprofit, they're in the description below. So please check out her site. It's an amazing site, and she has a lot more coming. So like she said, sign up for that newsletter. This work is amazing, and bless you for doing this. There's so many of us pioneers that are out there delving into this information, and we need more people to do it. We need more people to represent, more people to come on board and do experiments. I have an experiment that I did with polywogs last year with pyramid energy, and I posted it on TikTok, and people loved it. Every day, every week or so, I'd give them an update, and it just showed how large they developed inside the pyramid. And then some plants started to grow, and the plants grew like crazy too. And then you have the naysayers, oh, there has to be something different
Right.
than that other one. Well, try it yourself and see. Don't spend time commenting on my stuff. Just try it and see.
I always see the naysayers as just somebody to try to throw you off your trail there.
Yeah.
You're not going to win them all. Trust me. I remember when I put up the video for the hurricane, I had started tracking the hurricane prior to it even coming to the coast of Florida. And I received a lot of comments like, oh, you're trying to capitalize off of catastrophe. And, people are losing their homes. And here you are trying to capitalize off of them. And it's like, no, I'm just tracking storm patterns. I didn't even know that was going to happen. So there are people who just, they are going to comment. But I think that when you ruffle some feathers, you also know that you're getting somewhere too. So, yeah. And I saw your polywog testing too.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because years ago, I would have gotten all offended and probably not pursued it just from the naysayers. And now I've developed, a way to just kind of shunning them away and, not just disregarding them, but allowing them to be there to show others how ridiculous they're being, and to keep others informed about what's going on, because some people would just turn off the comments and not hear the good ones either,
Right. Yeah.
So
that's good though, that you don't let it stop you. You keep on moving forward. And sometimes you have an opportunity to educate them too. I've had people come in and tell me, oh, you can't get energy from rocks. And like just teaching them, look into piezoelectricity. We could start with that one and then we can move on from there, and so, so you have an opportunity to educate for those who are open to it, even if they are on the fence of things. Then there are, you wouldn't believe it. There's a lot of people out there who want to be naysayers, but once you give them that information, they're like, oh, you start to shift that perspective for people. And I think that's another one of the beautiful things that we, as the practitioners that we are, have an opportunity to do for the world and to help people out there.
That's right.
Yes. And we would love to have you on again sometime. We have a lot more to talk about, like I said.
Absolutely.
Any last words, Fee?
Make sure you sign up for the newsletter. And if anybody's interested in these retreats, they are definitely rolling out for the new year. And so there'll be a lot more pyramid energy related retreats coming out. So you'll be able to have an opportunity to check that out.
Great.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for being with us today. And lots of love and blessings to everyone. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.